Hey, it's Free and welcome to this week's video episode of The Soul Growth. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to try to make this short, sweet, and simple, but I have so much information, so without further ado, we're going to talk about getting curious, not furious. This is a video on communication. It comes from a book called Talk RX by Neha Sangwan. Really great book. If you get an opportunity to check it out, that would be wonderful. And I'm not promoting her. I'm just saying it's a really great book on practical information on how to better communicate, how to de-escalate situations, and how to listen better. Have you ever heard the parable that from a distance, no one can tell who the fool is in an argument? You're looking at an argument. You're watching people argue. You can't tell who the crazy person is or who's the fool. Why? Because you can't hear what's going on and you don't know the history behind it. It only takes one person in a conversation to shift the direction of that conversation. Well, you can't control that person, but you can control you, how you respond, and how you receive the information. Knowing your body, knowing what you're thinking, knowing what you're feeling are all vital when it comes to communication and shifting the direction of a conversation and de-escalating it. You have to learn how to manage yourself first. One thing that people tend to do is communicate through words only. For example, text messages, emails, and letters. People use this form of communication to avoid confrontation or to get more off of their chest and express more than they would be able to if they were talking face to face with someone. I understand that. However, when you do that, you leave the door open for drama. You leave the tone, the body language, the intention, and the purpose. You leave all of that information up to the person who is reading to insert at any point. Really great video that's in my description box below. It is a comedy skit. Humorous, a little vulgar, I do warn you, but it's by these two gentlemen named Key and Peele, and it is called Text Message Confusion. Great way to show how when someone sends a message, how they meant it and how someone receives that message can be very different, and what can happen when you have that miscommunication. Great video. I really suggest that you watch it. Ideally, though, when you're using communication with words only, you want to use it for something like giving someone some factual information. Hey, my address is 123 Sycamore Street. Or you're asking very direct yes or no questions where there's not a lot of room for a lot of different interpretation. We live in a world at this point where we use a lot of words-only communication, and we have a lot more misunderstandings and a lot more misinterpretations just because they don't have that tone of what you meant. And they may think that you were angry, so you meant it when you meant this when you said it this way, as opposed to what you really meant when you were just saying, okay, no worries. They might think they're thinking, okay, no worries. What's that supposed to mean? Why did they say it like that? And so we leave that door of opportunity for misinterpretation open when we use words only. Words plus tone. I'm going to give you a word. O. 2 letters. O-H. O. Now I'm going to say it, and I want you to listen, okay? O. 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 Oh. Now, I hid my face so that you could not see my body language, but I do want you to hear it. I'm going to do it again, but this time I'm going to add body language, okay? I'm going to put pictures so you can figure out exactly at what point who's saying what the body language. Oh. 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 What do you see in that? Just 2 letters. They mean the letters didn't change, just the inflection of my voice changed. But it told you the difference on what that O meant as opposed to just using words only. This is a really great tool because words plus tone add personality and emotion. It helps people understand where you're coming from. When you add body language to that, people get the full picture. And I know ideally we can't always speak face to face or on video where you can see everything that someone is feeling, but the purpose is to try to get away from using words only unless you really have to, so that you have fewer misunderstandings. The pause button. This wonderful little tool. Pausing, meaning taking a second to allow your brain to re-engage into its critical or creative thinking. gives you a moment to be able to get an additional perspective. We have a tendency to think that we have to answer a question immediately when we get questions. Sometimes we haven't thought it through. Sometimes we haven't thought about what other pieces are involved. We need more information. We may need more resources. Sometimes we commit to things that we are not really willing or desiring to commit to because we don't take a moment to pause. I'm definitely guilty of this. She provides a few methods, but I'm going to give you two. Method 1, take a deep breath. Remember, this re-engages the critical thinking in your brain. So if you take a deep breath, I think I can do that. Or, I'm sorry. No, I can't. I don't think I'll be able to do that. Method 2, the tense and release method. Really interesting thing. Becoming present in your body. Knowing what you're feeling, what you're sensing. She speaks on it as if she says, know where your toes are. Know where your feet is. Curl your toes. Release them. Tense up all the muscles in your feet. Release them. It helps you become aware of what you're feeling and sensing within your body, and it gives you a moment to step out of whatever it is that you're in to still answer the question. Nobody can see what you're doing with your foot in most cases. You're not looking. So it's a good way to do it discreetly. Realize that everyone has their own perspective, and everyone feels like their perspective is the right perspective. When you understand that the only thing that you can actually assume is that your perspective is limited. So this is where getting curious comes in. Ask questions. Fill in the gaps. Because your perspective, you know how they say there are 3 sides to every story? Your side, my side, and the truth. How are there 3 different sides to a story for one situation that happened? Well, I have my perspective on what happened. You have your perspective on what happened. And then there's what really happened. We have to get out of the mindset of thinking that my perspective is the only perspective or the best perspective or the right perspective, because that is never the case. And this is why we should get curious and ask for more information. So instead of just assuming that you know everything and what it meant and what that person meant, ask the question. If you're in a situation where you're confronted with a tense situation like anger, one of the really great tools that she says, state an observation from your perspective and get curious. For example, you're speaking with someone, they're getting angry, they're starting to yell, they're starting to use profanity. You say, You take a deep breath, you pause, use your pause button, either, the tense and release or take a deep breath, and you say, I noticed a change in your tone. You started using a little more profanity, and I could see your face turn red. I hear how frustrating it is when you don't think that I'm listening or understanding what you're saying, but I really want to get to the root of this, so can we discuss it in a different manner? What's going on? What are you feeling? What are you thinking? That's getting curious. Don't assume that you know what they're feeling or what they're thinking or that you know what they're going through. Ask the question. Another example. I notice tears in your eyes and I see sadness on your face. Is everything okay? Can I help you with something? Sometimes people just want to be heard and they want to be acknowledged. And sometimes people don't even realize what body language and signals that they're sending in their body language. Have you ever asked someone, why are you getting so mad? Why are you yelling at me? I'm not yelling. But you just did, So instead of saying it like that, say, I noticed this, and I noticed that you got a little bit louder. I noticed you started using profanity. You're just expressing to them what you're seeing, but you're providing clarity and in a neutral way. You're just stating what you observed. You're not blaming them. You're yelling at me. You're saying, hey, I noticed this, okay? Know your warning signs. Know your body. And use your pause methods so that you can shift the direction. So how do you feel when you're angry? Do you know when you're getting angry? Do you know when you're getting annoyed? Do you know when you're getting frustrated? Do you know how your body responds to these types of energies? One of the tools that I found to be the most useful with this situation is the U-turn tool. And this is my last piece. The U-turn, Y-O-U turn tool. Number 1, use I to share your observation. Number 2, speak it from your perspective only. And number 3, get curious. For example, when you're blaming someone, no one likes to be blamed at all. You say, you come home, you've had a long day at work, and your child or husband has been at home all day and they haven't done it. You come in the house. What have you been doing all day? You didn't even wash the dishes. What's wrong with you? Right? What if you came in the house and approached it in a little bit of a different way and said, I wanted to cook dinner when I came home, but I noticed that the dishes were in the sink from last night. What happened? You're not blaming them. You're saying, this is what I noticed. This is what I observed. I don't know what happened. I'm not saying that you did something wrong. I don't know what you're going through. I would like some clarity on the situation. Can you please explain to me what happened? Great tool. I promise you, the energy behind blaming someone. Why didn't you wash the dishes? What's wrong with you? Why have you've been home all day? You didn't do anything. The energy behind that and the energy behind, hey, this is what I noticed and this is what I would have liked to have done, but I don't know what happened. So can you help me understand and can we work on this? It's not saying, it's not blaming, it's just received completely differently. I really hope that you've enjoyed these tools, and I'm so sorry that I've gone over the 10 minutes. I really try not to keep you here more than 10 minutes, but I did want to make sure I hit every point. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below in the comment section. Again, I thank you so much for tuning in. Again, that book is Talk RX by Neha Sangwan. Really, really great book. If you have any other questions, just leave them, and I promise you I'll get back to you. Drop me a line. In the meantime, be blessed. Take care. Namaste. Bye.